Bhakti Vedanta Swami Namah. Shrimati Bhakti Vedanta Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravacharini Nivasesa Sunnavani Vaskachatsakane Gauravacharini Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaura Govinda Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasati Gaura Bhakta-vrinda Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. You need to open that door with the cross draft. This door open, this door open. Hare Rama. Thank you. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pachari Nirvasesha Sunyavari Paskachada Satarani Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Dvaita Gadadhar Shiva Sadi Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Thank you for tuning in, those of you who were there in your unmanifest forms. I wanted to say, as a preface, you're all investing your time. You could be watching cable TV or bowling or, I don't know what people do in Phoenix. But here you are. And why? What's the benefit? What's the meaning of that? So, because most people, there's a measure of things. Everyone has their own idea, according to modes of nature and this and that. What's good, what's pleasurable, what's happiness, what's true. These are all markers of things. So Prabhupada tells a story about, we should think. You know the Nike saying? What's the Nike slogan? Just do it. And you see it blazoned it, just do it. Was that a very good idea? Should you think before you do it? You know lemmings that jump off the cliff, you ever see that, Well, anyway, a blind man following a blind man, what happens? They both fall into the ditch. So just doing it, think before we do it. So Vedanta Sutra begins, Atato Brahma Jigyasya. Now that you're in the human form of life, think what is actual truth, what is eternal, and what is temporary. Atato Brahma Jigyasya. Ask about Brahman. Now is the time. So Prabhupada tells a little story to explain it. There was you ever been to India? You ever seen a donkey with a big load on it? Yeah, very good. Thank you. So Prabhupada says that there was a washerman, and his wife had passed away, his kids had all gone to Delhi to computer school. He was all alone. But he had, they say in America, a dog is a man's best friend. I say a cow is a man's best friend, but that's another story. But in this man, everyone else was gone, and so this man, he had his donkey. And his donkey was his dear friend. All day long, he was a washerman. And they would go to the bank and wash the clothes, and he would his donkey's name was Sargal Singh. And he would, people talk to their dogs, they talk to them. So this was his best friend, his donkey, Sargal Singh. But, as we know, time and tide wait for no one. And one day, Sargal Singh died. And the man, simple man, washerman, was so overwhelmed. In India, often the tradition is that when someone dies, you shave your head. So the washerman shaved his head. The next day, some soldiers came to pick up their laundry. They saw the man with the shaved head. They said, hey, who died? And the simple washerman, he said, in his own grief, he said, there we go. He said, Sargal Singh has died. So the soldiers, he said it with such emotion, the soldiers, they thought it must be somebody important. So they didn't want to look like dummies. So they thought, Sargal Singh must be somebody important. They shaved their head. So when the soldiers went back to the barracks, their friends said, hey, what happened? Who died? They said, you didn't hear? Well, we're the first on the gossip line. We know Sargal Singh has died. So all the soldiers shaved their head. Next day, they're all out there on the parade ground. The general's there. He looks at, you got 300 men, all shaved head. He said, hey, who died? They said in unison, Sargal Singh has died. General shaved his head. General's reporting to the prime minister, says, all over the world, all over the country, people are shaved head. The Sargal Singh the Great has died. Prime minister shaves his head. So the prime minister goes before the king. We're almost done. Prime minister goes before the king. And he's there with a set of proclamations. We're going to declare Sargal Singh Day, Sargal Singh Park, Sargal Singh Parade, because the great Sargal Singh has died. So the king calls for the royal barber. They're just about to shave the king's head. And there's one sadhu there, one saintly person. And the saintly person says, King, who's Sargal Singh? And they went back and found out that Sargal Singh was a donkey. So people do so many things, but why? Why? Coke is the real thing. Why? It's just fizzy sugar water. It rots your teeth. It's not the real thing at all. So there's so many things that we do. I was in Burma, Myanmar as they call it now, and he was in Bangladesh, I'm sorry. He was in Chittagong. And I was getting some office supplies or something, and there was a young man, a clerk in the shop, and I said, we're having a very nice program at the temple tonight. It was only, a block away. I said, why don't you come to the temple tonight? He said, no, I can't, I'm too busy. I said, doing what? He said, well, I've got to study. I have a big test tomorrow. Now, don't you guys use this as an excuse to bail out on your studies. We're not anti-education, don't get me wrong, it's essential. But here's where I'm going. So the man said, I have to study for a test. So I said, just for fun, they say ask why 5 times. So I asked him why. He said, well, I want to get a good grade. I said, okay, why? He said, well, I want to get graduate with honors. I said, okay, why? He said, well, I want to get into a PhD program in America. I said, okay, why? He said, well, I want to get a good job. I said, why? He said, well, I want to make a bunch of money. I said, okay, why? He said, well, if I have a bunch of money, I can buy a big house and a big car. I said, why? He said, well, then I can get a beautiful wife and other. I said, why? He said, well, if I get a big house and a big car and lots of money and a wife and kids, I'll be happy. I said, aha, your goal is happiness. That's what he's doing all these intermediate steps for. I said, did it ever occur to you? That is, because that's the American dream. So I said, but I'm coming from America. Did you ever wonder? We got a whole nation full of big houses, big cars, beautiful wives, and we have one of the highest suicide rates. We have, it's not actually making people happy. I said, I come to your country, Bangladesh, to learn your Vaishnav culture. Did you ever think about that? So the guy showed up that night. So why are we actually doing what we're doing? We have to think about these things. And what is the benefit of them? Let me ask you a question. This is the beginning of this section we're going to take a few examples from, called Enlightenment from the Natural Path. It's the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Do you like to read adventure stories? Do you like to, I don't want to put you on the spot, but romance, adventure. I used to like to read Shakespeare, drama. Everybody likes a story with a good villain, and the princess gets saved, or the prince, what the basic storyline, he's peaceful, then there's loss, and you redeem yourself, and you grow in it, and you ultimately win, and everything, everybody likes drama, right? Read the Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Purana. There are the most, and they all have deep meaning, but they're historical narrations. And can anyone think of a better villain than Hiranyakasipu? There's just so, Kamsa, where do you want to start? So I highly, strongly recommend that you read Srimad Bhagavatam. Anywhere you like. Don't worry about the big prayers and big philosophy. Just read the storyline. It's fantastic stuff. And you'll develop good character. You'll learn to be honest and noble and brave and charitable. It's fantastic. So in the 11th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, its chapter is called Enlightenment from the Natural Path. It asks some precursor questions. And one of those questions is we're talking what's valuable in this world. So why is knowledge, wisdom, why is it compared to a boat? Think about it. What do you use a boat for? Can a dog paddle across the Atlantic Ocean? What does the dog need? Don't overthink it. What's that? He needs a boat. You get on a boat, no problem. So if I want to cross over something that is, stuck in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean, all by yourself, how long can you dog paddle? Or how long you need a boat. You need a good boat. So a boat helps us cross over dangerous seas. So this material world is compared to an ocean of difficulties. You're too young. You're my age. You look back and, whoa, there's a lot going on in life. Not all rosy. So we need a boat to cross over the ocean of difficulties. Why is knowledge compared to a lamp, a torch light? When do you need it? If you go out, if you go out into the darkness, you may stumble, you may trip. When it's dark, you don't know what's up. I was thinking of a Frankenstein story, but I'll tell you later. So if you have a torch, then a torch illuminates. You can see what is real, what is unreal, and you can see your path safely. So knowledge is like a boat. Knowledge is like a lamp. Why is knowledge like a sword? What do you use a sword for? It defends you against danger, against risk. They say, and well, it's not politically correct, but I'll say it anyway. They say that a child's weapon is innocence. A little child runs through the house, knocks over a lamp. You know what you can do. They're a kid, So their weapon is their defense. Is they're innocent. A woman's weapon is tears, which they often use quite effectively. And a old man's weapon, what can he do? He can't claim innocence. He can't, like me, if I cry, you're just going to go, Swank's lost his mind. So I'm not going to get too far with that. But an old man's weapon is knowledge, wisdom. So this sword cuts through darkness, protects us. And there's just one more, just for fun. Why is knowledge, wisdom? In other words, this is valuable stuff. Why does this matter to me? Why is knowledge like shoes? Anyone want to guess? And usually we consider we leave shoes outside, but think about it. Why do we wear shoes?
So, in case it's hot outside, we don't burn our feet.
Say again?
In case it's hot outside, we don't burn our feet.
Very good. In case it's hot, rocks, sticks, it's hot. If I'm just picturing, if it's hot, how far can you walk, right? So similarly, in the path of life, there are difficulties. Miseries caused by other living entities, miseries caused by the mind and body, miseries caused by material nature, adibhotik, adidaivik, adiatmic. There's all kinds of, there's birth, death, disease, old age. There's a lot of things happening in this world that are, it's a rough road to hoe. So it's a hard path to walk on. There's all kinds of anxieties, it's COVID, I lose my job. I mean, these are real problems. I'm not making light of them at all. My point is that when we walk on the path of life barefoot, so many sticks, rocks, too hot, so many problems. But if you put on shoes, you can walk very nicely. So transcendental knowledge, spiritual wisdom found in the Vedic literature, is the path of life. It helps us. It's like shoes, it's like boats, it's like a lamp, it's like a sword. It's essential, actually. Prabhupada said there's fool number one and fool number two. You know who fool number one is? I haven't asked you. Well, I don't want to pick on you. Anyone want to, huh?
A torch.
You want to guess who fool number one is? The one who says something foolish or does something stupid. Fool number one. Now, who's fool number two? Anyone want to guess? Who said that? Hey, way to go, 10 points for you. The one who follows. So there's people doing foolish things and there's people who are foolish in following. We should have, our life should be infused with knowledge. Think, don't just do it. So these are a few examples. And we go till when, Mataji? What's our schedule? We end at 8, isn't it?
Yeah.
What do we do? Okay, so we'll stop at 10 of 8 and take some questions. Is that okay? All right. So, what can we learn? This is called the 24 Gurus, or enlightenment by the natural path. What can we learn by seeing the elements of things in this world? So what can we learn from the earth? The earth carries all kinds of people. I'll help you with the first one. It's about 4 or 5. The earth, we can learn tolerance. We can learn to carry a difficult situation. What's the population of the earth? Anyone know right now? It's 7 billion? Depending on what happened in China last night. There's how many people? So 7 billion, we can say. So to carry that weight, just for fun, we're completely off the track today. I just thought of it, and it's a good example. I was riding to India. This is on an airplane in the old pre-COVID days. And, I'm dressed like this. I'm minding my own business, reading Bhagavad Gita. And a man sat down next to me. And he said, I see that you are, he was an Indian man. He said, I see that you're a Vaishnava, Krishna Bhakta. Way to go, Sherlock, I get the deal. I'm reading Bhagavad Gita. Okay, fine. And he said, but I, sir, am an atheist. And as I told him, I'm kind of thinking, well, this is going to be a long flight. But okay, well, let's see what's up here. So I asked him, I said, okay, what do you work as? And he said he worked for Boeing. He said, I'm an aeronautics engineer, and I helped design. I was on the lead team that designed the 747 Dreamliner. And he was quite proud. And yeah, it's an accomplishment on one hand, So he said, I designed the 747 Dreamliner. I said, did you do it all by yourself? He said, no. He said there were teams. I was the head of one team, but there were many. I said, how many teams? Electrical, mechanical, this, and then he counted up so many teams. And there was about, let's make it an easy number, there were 10 teams. I said, okay, how many people on a team? He said, say a dozen. So you got 120. Now that doesn't include all the subcontractors who supplied all the other parts. But it took 120 of the best and brightest to make the 747 Dreamliner. And it's an accomplishment, okay? But let's think about it for a minute. I don't want to scare anybody, but they do crash sometimes, And they're the biggest pollutant. Isn't it, jet fuel is like one of the biggest pollutants in the world. So they crash, they're polluting, they're expensive. It costs money to get on those things, And you're all cramped in there, and bad smells, and it's not very nice. Everybody's happy to get off the plane, And what else? So there's, and how many people are on those things? And let's say, what is a Dreamland? Let's say 450. Hey, let's be generous, 500. Okay? And it's going, the average, I think their cruising speed is about 600 miles, something like that. Okay. So it took 120 of the best and the brightest, plus so many others, to build one 747. And they're very proud of it. And they crash, they smell bad, they pollute, they're uncomfortable, they can have a limited number of people, they can only go certain distances, right? Now, this man said he was an atheist, right? Everything happens by chance, no design, no rhyme or reason, just laws of physics. So I asked him, what about planet Earth? Let's compare and contrast. You've got your 747. Now, we just talked 7 billion people on the planet Earth. And it's traveling, I think it's, you can Google it for me some other time, but I think it's 1,800 miles per second around the sun. And it's also spinning. Try that in your 747. Now, even you go in 600, try to spin that baby, you know? And you know, sometimes you get announcements. Oh, fasten your seatbelts, you know, get some turbulence. Do you ever feel any turbulence? Even though we're going 1,800 miles per second around the sun and spinning, you feel anything right now? You got a seatbelt on there, my friend? So, which is which is a superior project? In every way you measure, there's no charge. It's practically a free energy machine. There's no pollution. In every possible category, it is to the 9th degree superior to that which took 120 of the best and brightest to create. And yet the planet Earth, there's no design behind it. It happened by chance. So I presented this to him. I said, so please explain, share with me the seamless logic that took so much intelligence and that which is far superior happened by chance. Please explain that to me. He said, oh, Swami, I need to finish my tea. I thought, okay, he's going to leave me in peace, at least, you know. So we can learn from the earth to be tolerant and carry a great burden. What can we learn from a tree? There are some trees here in Phoenix.
Tolerance.
What can we learn from a tree?
Tolerance.
Tolerance. Because a tree in Phoenix. What are those cactuses? What were those cactuses?
Sure.
How old are some of those things?
200 years.
No. He went to the museum.
Yeah.
300 years. And they got birds drilling into them. You never see one of those, they got their hands up. How long can you stand with it? Hey, I'm out here. I'm going to Miami. You know, I had enough of this. Yeah, I say on the road hitchhiking, you know. So you can learn to be tolerant. What else can we learn from a tree?
It gives,
Huh?
it always gives something.
Very good. It's giving fruit or flower or shade. So they're giving, even though they're in a difficult position, still they're giving. They're charitable. And let me ask you a question. Suppose I sit under the tree and it pulls its branches and it says, no shade for you, Swami. No. It doesn't discriminate, isn't it? What do we say in Gita? Pandita Samadarshana? That a saintly person sees everyone as equal. So a tree, we can learn to be tolerant. We should. What are we giving in our life? What are we doing? To be generous, to be giving. That our life should give something. We shouldn't just be, miserly taking whatever we can. I saw a bumper sticker. I love these bumper stickers. This one said, what was it? The one who dies with the most toys wins. You ever seen that bumper sticker? One who dies with the most toys wins. And I remember thinking, hang on a minute. He still dies. He has to leave the toys behind. The toys that relatives get, and he's gone. So how is that winning? Help me out here, So we should have a life that we give. And of course we'll talk what is the best thing to give. But that's what we can learn from a tree. To be tolerant, to be generous, and to give to all, not discriminate. What can we learn from the air? And there's a verse in Bhagavad Gita that describes aroma and the air and fragrance. Anyone know? Let me help with the wind. What does the wind do? How do I know if you have a flower garden outside? If the window's open, how do I know? I can't see it. How do I know there's a flower garden?
Reflects.
The air carries the aroma. How do I know that there's a garbage dump? They didn't dump the garbage. The fragrance, the aroma. So the air carries aroma. And whatever the situation, it carries the aroma. But it's actually neutral. So we can learn from the air that whatever situation we're in, Krishna says, we tolerate, sometimes it's hot, sometimes it's cold. Sometimes we're in a comfortable position, sometimes we're not. You ever seen a dog chase its tail? So, we're chasing after solving, there's always, they say in Italy, I have a friend who's a devotee, he's Italian, and he says, they have a saying in Italy, I don't know the Italian, but there's always a rock in your shoe. There's always something. And if we spend our whole life trying to adjust the conditions, we'll waste our life. Because there'll always be something wrong. Too hot, too cold, I'm with these people, I don't like that people, I don't have enough money, now I got all my money and all my relatives are going to steal it, and so many things. So we should tolerate. It doesn't mean be dull-headed, but like the air, we recognize that there's different situations. What can we learn? This is a fun one. What can we learn from the moon? Now, what does the moon do? It gives light. Okay, light of the silvery moon. Or Nitai Padakamala. Lord Nityananda's mercies compared to the mercy, cooling rays of the moon. But what does I don't want to make it too easy.
It's very pleasant.
Very pleasant. Okay, no. I know that's the natural road to go down. So let me say this. If I see the moon today, it will look like something, right? If I come back in wherever I am in 3 weeks, will the moon look the same? So what does the moon do? Huh? It goes through phases. It goes, you've got the full moon, crescent moon, new moon, like that, right? You agree? Does the moon actually change its shape? No, it has to do with the way it reflects the sun. So the moon is a constant, but it manifests, as a crescent, full like that. We are the eternal soul. But this body, just as the moon is going through phases, we appear to be a boy, we appear to be a young girl, we appear to be a woman, we appear to be a man, we appear to be an old man. Let me ask you, just for fun, the riddle of the Sphinx. Do you know the riddle of the Sphinx? What is it? What animal walks on 4 legs at noon, 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs at noon, and 3 legs in the evening? Hey, wait a minute. He says, a man. Defend your answer.
So when you're a baby, you go on all fours.
I'm going to translate for here. So he's saying a man, and 4, 2, and 3. What's that? So he says, as a baby, 4 legs. Okay, you're 1/3 there.
And then when you learn to walk, you just walk on 2 legs.
As a, standing up as a, 2 legs, but you got 1 left. When you're an old man, you need a cane. It's your 3rd leg. So the body is changing, but we are the same. So we can learn from the moon, the body is changing, its shape is changing, but the moon is the same. So we are the eternal soul. And as we're going through changes, the moon is going, but we are constant. Anybody, when you buy a coconut, you want to, make coconut whatever, so many nice coconut dishes, and you go to the store, how do you know if the coconut is the brown husk is there? What do you do? Yeah, you shake it. Everybody shakes it, Why do you shake it? Because it's separate. You can hear it around. You know that you know it's right because it's pulled away from the husk. So the husk and the pulp are completely independent. Similarly, we're this body. We've got to take care of it. We're the mind. We're the ego. We're so many different things. I want to give that verse from Bhagavad Gita about the horse and all that stuff, and carriage, and don't ever forget. So we are separate from this body. That's knowledge. So we can learn that from the moon. Let's see, because we got the time there. Let's do one more. What can we learn from the bee, honeybee? What are some sayings, American sayings? Busy as a... When I go somewhere, if I'm going fast and straight, what do they call it?
Beeline.
Beeline. So busy as a bee, making a beeline. Bees are very active. Bees work hard. Don't they call them worker bees? There's drones, there's different ones. There's the worker bee. You never see a bee just chilling. Hey, I'll meet you back at the hive. I'm taking a break. No. They're very industrious. And why are they working so hard? They get a paycheck. They're going to retire and mango growth. Why are they working so hard?
To get food and make honey.
They're making honey. That's their job. Now, here's an interesting thing. If I'm a bee in a hive, working in a, what do they call that? They call them hives. The beekeeper has the hive, right? And I'm working, I'm a beeline, busy as a bee, making that honey. Do I get to enjoy that honey? What happens? Beekeeper comes, smokes everybody, and takes the honey out, takes the comb out, takes the honey. So I'm working so hard, but I don't even get to enjoy it. Would you call that foolish? I mean, let's be honest. You're kind-hearted of it, you know? So the thing is that we're working so hard in life. Now, we're not saying be lazy. I'm not saying that at all. I was in Prabhupada's room one time, and a man kept saying, Swami, Swami, we're making progress. Oh, but Swami, we're making progress. Oh, Swamiji, we're making progress. You know, Prabhupada let him run on for a little while. Prabhupada said, my question is, you're making progress, but in what direction? If I'm speeding in my Cadillac with a radio with a nice tunes on, but I'm going in the wrong direction, isn't it? You know? Okay, so you're going fast. Okay, so you're comfortable. But you're going in the wrong direction. So the bee works very hard, but it doesn't enjoy the fruit of its labor. So we should artada, human form of life is that which can give the greatest benefit. So what is that greatest benefit? We are meant to be, the description of the soul is Sat Chit Ananda. We are meant to be full of knowledge. If I have a jewel, a diamond, and I drop it in the mud, I pull it out, it looks like a clod of dirt. Do I just pitch it because it looks like a clod of dirt? Has the diamond become a clod of dirt? What do I need to do if I want the diamond back? Where do you go, my friend? Just wash it. You know? Its intrinsic nature remains, it's just covered. So the nature of our real self, the soul, is we are Sat Chit Ananda, according to the Vedanta Sutra. We're full of knowledge, we're full of happiness, and we're full of pleasure. That is our default mode of the soul. That should be our natural state of consciousness. So we'll wrap up and then take some questions. But by understanding these examples from the natural path, and understanding by following the path of wisdom, if we can, and the practices that given to us by our acharyas, you know the saying, garbage in, what's the other half of the saying? Garbage in, garbage out. We eat any nonsense thing, bones and feathers falling out of our mouth. Well, what's that do to our consciousness? We spend the average American under hypnosis can remember 357 commercial jingles. All those ads, Coke is the real thing, Nike, just do it. They told Prabhupada one time, typical American in the beginning, now they like it. They said, this chanting is brainwashing. Prabhupada said, if the brain is dirty, shouldn't you wash it? So think about what's in the head, So our humble appeal is that this is the great, they call it the art of living. It is a great science. Science means you have a hypothesis, you do an experiment, and you get a result that confirms your hypothesis. And most importantly, it's duplicatable. You go to the same thing, you perform the same experiment, and you will get, and anybody in the world can perform the same experiment and get the same result. That's, the basic scientific method. So we say this is a Vedic science, because if one follows it, if you want to do an experiment, you got to have distilled water, you got to have it hermetically sealed, you can't have any pollutants coming in, you got to have it on one of those vibration pads so the truck going by doesn't blow all your calibrations. It has to have a pure system, right? Otherwise, it's going to skew the results. Well, so you've got to eat pure food offered to Krishna. You can't fill your head full of every kind of garbage on cable television. You can't, if you introduce impurities, you will not get a pure result. But if you follow the path of bhakti, and all the things we do make sense. There's a reason we get up in the morning. There's a reason we eat what we eat. There's a reason everything we have So if we follow the path of bhakti given to us by our previous acharyas, it is a great science. And the result of that following the method will be that we become full of knowledge, full of happiness, full of pleasure. And that sounds worth it to me. What do you think? All right. Okay, so we're on time? Hey, not bad. Right on course. So back to our host. Do we have any questions? Do you guys here have any questions? What do we do for questions? Okay. Can you scale yourself up? It's hold on. Put on the brakes. A little hard to hear you. Can you amplify? Oh, there you are. Sham Mohini.
Do we need to increase the volume here?
Oh, hold on. We're going to amp up the volume. Wait. Stay with us. We're going to see if we can increase. I think I'm already up at full bore, but... Yeah, we're already 100%. Okay, so what were you saying? Sham Mohini? Yeah, we're okay now, thanks. So what's the question?
God is one and the same the question is, if God is one and the same in every religion, why do we make differences? Will it matter whether I worship in one that worship?
I got it. Prabhupada was asked the question.
As long as I understand.
No, we're okay, I got it. Prabhupada was asked the question by George Harrison, actually. Which religion is best? And he was asked that a number of times. Prabhupada's answer was, that religion which develops your love of God. So if we are developing genuine love for the Supreme Being, that's the best religion. Because ultimately we're talking about the same thing. Prabhupada gave the example, if you have a diamond, if you turn it, it has different facets. It'll catch the light differently. So different religious processes, they're presenting different aspects of God. All powerful, all unknowable, there's so many different aspects of all merciful. So according as you turn the diamond and it catches different facets, different religious paths are presenting different aspects. Now we would say, in all honesty, that the Vedic presentation is the fullest understanding. They asked Prabhupada one time, he was staying at a Catholic monastery, he was giving 2 classes there, 2 days of class in Australia. And there was a picture of St. Francis, St. Francis of Assisi. There was a picture of St. who's a vegetarian. There was a picture of St. Francis, and the devotees asked Prabhupada, what about St. Francis? And Prabhupada said he was wonderful. And then Prabhupada said he was most wonderful. So we are not, truth is one. Just like the sun it's called El Sol, what do you call it? In Surya. There's so many names for the sun, but it's the same object. So everyone's looking, we're talking about this, there can only be one God. There can't be multiple gods that are competing, So there's only one Krishna. The definition for God in the Vedas is he whom no one is greater than or equal to. That's one that Aham Savasya Prabhu, that from which everything emanates. So we're all talking about the same sublime supreme being. And people are worshiping like different diamonds, a diamond, the different facets. We will say that the fullest understanding of God, we understand that, here you go, Prabhupada gives an example, happened to be in India, that there were some villagers, and the train was coming to their destination for the first time, coming to their village for the first time. So hey, it's a big deal, right? But it's coming Indian Standard Time. So I'll tell you a joke about Indian trains later on. Prabhupada told it. So the 3 men, everybody goes home, finally there's 3 people waiting. You know, come on, we've waited this long, we might as well see it. And way off in the distance, they hear a whistle. So one of the men says, I know what the train is. The train's a whistle. And he goes home telling everybody, fully say he saw the train. Now the other 2 say, well, there must be more to it. So the other 2 are waiting. By this time, it's dark. And they hear the whistle, and they see the light. So the second guy says, I know what a train is. It's a whistle and a light, and he goes home satisfied. The third one, the remaining guy, waits, and he sees the train pull in and the people get off. He's got the whole picture. Now, Srimad Bhagavatam says the absolute truth is realized. Was it Brahmaneti, Parmaneti, Bhagavaneti, Shabdite? The absolute truth is realized in 3 progressive stages. Just like there's the stage of the whistle, there's the stage of the whistle and the light, and this is the stage of the whistle, the light, and the train. So devotees, in our Vedic literature, in our Vaishnava understanding, we know how God is present everywhere. He's present in every atom. He's as Paramatma. He's present in everyone's heart. He's sustaining and maintaining all the laws of physics and the whole creation, as Seshanagi expands his gravity. So we understand the impersonal aspect of God. We also understand how God is great, awe and reverence. We understand that. But we also understand how God, I have a form, I have friends, I have relationships. Why of the hand? You got off the hook for a minute. Why does the shadow of the hand have 5 fingers? This is a big hint. Why does the shadow have 5 fingers?
Because it's a shadow.
A shadow of?
Your hand.
The original object has 5 fingers, so the shadow has 5 fingers. So if I have, a little algebra, if I have a set of numbers, and from that set of numbers I take a subset of numbers, can I have anything in the subset that's not in the original set? Well, Prabhupada says it very simply and very accurately. If I take a drop of water out of the ocean, can I have any quality in that drop that's not found in the ocean? So we are all, everything is an emanation of the absolute. We are emanations of, like the fire, sparks from the fire, the sun and rays from the sun, right? We're all emanations from the supreme cause of all causes. So if the absolute, if we have form, personality, relationships, emotions, we're the subset. What about the original set? How can God not have, how can there not be a spiritual dimension that's full of form, full of pastimes? How can there not be a kingdom of God where the liberated souls are all associating with God? And how can there not, we have different relationships. We have relationships of servitorship, we have relationships of friendship, there's paternal relationship. What have I forgotten? Well, there's a friendship, and then there's ultimately madhurya, or intimate, like husband and wife. So how can there not also be those same different types of relationships in the kingdom of God? It's not that God is just, I don't mean to offend anybody, sitting on a throne throwing thunderbolts. Or just like catcher in the, like a fish tank. God is just watching everybody do everything and maintaining the laws of physics. And then how is that the fullest manifestation of God? So in the Vedic literatures, you will find out what is going on in the kingdom of God. What are all the different forms and pastimes of the Supreme Lord? It's like if I have a pocket dictionary and I look up a word, and I have Oxford English Dictionary, I'll have a fuller understanding in the Oxford English Dictionary, isn't it? Unabridged Oxford. But they're not competing. One doesn't say the other one's wrong. One is a further understanding. So it's a long answer, but to your question, you worship God in whatever way. There's not okay, I've got to get out of my Christian camp or my Jewish camp or my Islamic camp, and then I've got to get in the Hare Krishna camp. That's not what we're talking about here. but rather your understanding of God is expanding. Prabhupada said, if you read Bhagavad Gita, you will become a better Christian. You'll become a better Muslim. Better whatever it is. So is that okay? There we go. Okay, we'll take another question. Do you have any more questions?
No, for Facebook we are not.
Okay, any of you guys have any questions? Anybody here? Don't be shy, you can ask me
There's a
anything.
question.
Okay, we got a question. So I'm looking at this one?
Yes.
Okay. Are you unmuted? What is Sri Govinda? That's a great name. So Sri Govinda, Prabhu. I'm thinking of Jaipur Govinda. So go ahead.
Thank you so much, Maharaj.
You're very kind.
We started the discussion, just do it, and we should not think before doing it. But there is other aspect of it, sometimes practicing spiritual life. We may not.
Can the other people hear his question who are on the Zoom call?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Prabhu. And speak very clearly so they can hear you.
Thank you. So, I was talking about just do it in the first statement that we started last time. And we discussed that we need to think before doing anything.
Okay.
But when we practice spiritual life, sometimes we may not understand completely how this process is going to work. For example, chanting, we may not understand it fully, but
Okay.
it is advised that we should just do it, have faith and just do it. So where do you, how do you understand these things and where do you create balance?
You know, this is a sign of an intelligent person. I was looking at that statement, just do it, in one way, and it's a valid point. But I appreciate that there is an element, there has to be an element of faith. Shraddha. Shraddha is the beginning of the process. From Shraddha, then you take up the practice, you sadhu sangha, and there's a whole progression, anatta nivritti, it progresses. So you're right, there has to be faith. And the thing is, we all have faith in something. We have faith in gravity. We have faith in, I heard on Fox News. I mean, people have all kinds of faith in different things. No question about it. But that faith, it doesn't stay just blind faith. We cannot, that's called Kanista Adhikari. It's a stage of devotional service. One simply has a very simple understanding of faith. And hey, it's good. It's a good place to start. But that faith, the nature of spiritual knowledge is that if I have a fire and I put a metal rod in it, it's metal and there's fire. But association with fire, that rod will become heat and light. By association with fire, it became fire. So by associating with Krishna's holy name, the holy name of God, so many different things, taking prasadam, worshiping the deity, that knowledge will grow within the heart. What is it? Multistreaming apohanam cha. Sarvasya shaham hridisani visto multistreaming apohanam cha. Krishna says, Tesham satyayuktanam bhajitam pratipurvakam dadami bhuru yogaptam yena mamopayantate. Those are verses from Bhagavad Gita. And Krishna says, Krishna's in the heart. I mean, how do the birds, they say, well, it's instinct. It has so much instinct. Well, what does that mean? That's just it has no substance. It's like saying, whatever. It's a vacuous term. Krishna's actually in the heart, giving direction. Was it the monarch butterfly? Flies all the way from Canada, all the way down to Mexico. And they die halfway. Half of them make it die, generate again, and the next generation goes. So, how do they do that? There's we're a little off the track, it's kind of fun. There's the San Juan Capistrano swallows. You ever heard of it? They're in San Diego, in Southern California, at an old Spanish mission. And on the same day, spontaneously, since, as long as they've been measuring, 200 years, all of a sudden, they all fly south. They all take off at the exact same time. There's no parade monitor, nobody passing out. Hey, tomorrow's the big day, better pack up, They just, there's so many things they call instinct, but that's actually Krishna within the heart. So yes, faith is necessary in the beginning. But as one follows, it becomes full of knowledge. There it is. A Christian within the heart gives knowledge, remembrance, forgetfulness, intelligence. It comes from Krishna within the heart. So we shouldn't stay foolish. Is that okay? Just like if I'm hungry, I eat. Although it's subjective, there's also symptoms. Like you say, well, how do I know you're advancing in spiritual life? Or okay, you think you're doing it, but how do I know it? What is the external measure? If I'm hungry, I sit down at a table and start eating. Am I satisfied immediately? But on one hand, I know, okay, if I just keep eating, my hunger is gradually, I know I'm in the right place. I keep eating, I'm going to be satisfied. And there is a point where you push away from the table. So the proof that one's advancing in spiritual life, they're no longer interested in material things. They're not, not chasing after all the glitter and glamour of the material world, or frankly, the different agitations of the senses. That they're always satisfied. So that's a sign of knowledge too, that one becomes detached from the foolishness of this material world. One last example. We're sitting in this room. How would I know if I said, hey, Radhamada, is the sun up yet? How do you know?
Looking outside is dark.
You look outside. There's symptoms. And there is a time, I chant Gayatri. We're all supposed to chant at a particular, that after the sunset, before the stars come out, and there's different times. You're supposed to chant sangyams, different sangyams where you chant Gayatri. It's a prayer the Brahmins chant. So there is an exact time, I think it's 6:17, that the sun sets. Oh, the sun comes over the horizon. The sun rises. Okay? But how do I know if it's getting close to sunrise? Even before, there is an exact moment that the sun comes over the horizon. Similarly, in our spiritual process, there will be an exact moment when we see Krishna, when we see God face to face. Just like I'm seeing you, you're seeing me. There will come a time when we see God face to face. Not just sentimentally, not just intellectually, face to face. That will happen. But even before then, because we're talking about the gradual development of knowledge, starting with faith, even before then, if I go outside before the sunrise, everything's dark, right? Then what happens? Does the sun just like turning on a switch?
No, it rises up.
What happens?
It rises up.
First off, you see, okay, there's a little nebulous form. You can distinguish form. Not really sharp edges, Then it begins to wash with color. Then the sharp becomes clear. And then ultimately you can see quite clearly. Then the sun actually comes over. So it's called dawning of love of God. Even before one sees Krishna or God face to face, there's a whole progression that gives you conviction that you're on the right path. As the sun, even before it comes over the horizon, things become illuminated. In our life, things become illuminated. We can see the self, we can see other people as spiritual, we become satisfied, push away from the material nature, and we begin to taste the great bhakti ras, actual love of God. Krishna says, I'm the pure taste in water. I'm the original light of the sun and the moon. Prabhupada said, the time will come that you feel the sun like your lover's embrace. So, yes, faith is valuable, but we don't want to stay on that level. Otherwise, you're kanista. And one who has only faith, they're easily dissuaded. You have to develop spiritual knowledge. Okay, I think, what time is it now? Do any of you guys have a question? Anyone else have a question here?
One question.
Radhamada.
So in the scriptures...
Is this going to be a Stump the Swami question?
No.
I don't mind.
In the scriptures and in many writings, they said that we should respect all life.
All life, yes.
We should respect. But even when you're talking about the bees and the honey, we know that it is stolen honey, it's somebody else's honey. We steal it and we kill bees, and then we use it in the Changamrat and we use it in the Abhishek and everything else. And we don't have a bee on the altar or something, at least respect the bee form, so that we know that we are actually killing the bees.
Let me answer. Prabhupada talks about this in Bhagavad Gita. Every time we step, we're killing living entities. Oh no, I'll say that later. Every time we inhale or exhale, we're killing. If you light a stick of incense, we're killing, you know. Jiva jivasya jivanam is the Vedic aphorism that every living entity lives at the cost of another. You know, the four-legged live at the cost of the two-legged, you know, whatever. So, yes, we are incurring a great deal of karma. There's no question about it. But the question is, that is the law of the material nature. It's Martya Loka, everyone's not. So therefore our activities should be in the service of the Supreme Lord. Like you get a ticket if you speed, but the policeman has to speed to catch you. So he's breaking the law. So as long as we are serving the Supreme Lord according to the laws of Dharma, we're lighting the incense to offer to Krishna. We're walking so that we can go to the temple or go to our work to maintain our family of devotees. So as long as everything's perfection of renunciation, if all of our activities are like you swaha, you offer the grains, as long as everything we do is offered in the sacrifice of service, then we're free from the karma. Prabhupada gives the example that a soldier, let's suppose, against the Nazis or, a genuine, legitimate war, and the soldier gets a medal for killing other soldiers. But he kills somebody when he gets home. He got a medal for killing 100 people, and he kills one person when he gets back home. He goes to jail. He goes, So we have to be law-abiding. As long as we were working within the laws of God for the service of God and service of others, then we're free from those reactions. But we should realize that there's no question about it. We have a stock of karma.
But here, about insects, we are stepping and inhaling, and at least sometimes we don't see them as such. But here, it is seen, and we are doing it.
Therefore, jiva jivasya jivanam. Every living entity lives at the cost of another. So you cannot live in this world without killing.
Yes, but there are.
So I don't understand your question.
We are actually.
Do you want, Prabhu?
Mm.
You can live on just, a lot of things. Potatoes, the plant dies, carrots. I don't know exactly what you're saying.
Look, we're using stolen honey.
Yes.
And
so therefore you offer. Let me ask you a question. Is it actually stolen? Who does it belong to? If you're Prabhupada's example, if I'm walking down the road and a man's wallet falls out and I'm behind it, let's test your morality. Who should we test? If someone's wallet falls out, what do you do with it? Now there's several options. You can think, hey, pennies from heaven. Nobody's looking, put the wallet in your pocket, right? But first off, there's karma, but you may be seen as what is CCTV or whatever it is, and you go to jail. I was giving a class one time, and I was explaining that Krishna, it was to a Sunday school at the LA Temple, and I said, Krishna's the witness, he sees everything, right? We accept that. And Prabhupada's example is the sun or the moon. Even if I close one eye, I can see with the other, right? So Krishna always either the sun or the moon, they see everything. So a little kid in the back said, Swami, what about a moonless night? I said, way to go, man. I told him, to make this kid a lawyer. He immediately found a loophole, But the point is that Krishna's the witness of all things. Krishna sees all things. So, okay, the wallet falls out. I can take the money and enjoy it, but I'll be caught by the police, and there's karma. It's not the right thing to do. It can also fall out, and I can think, oh, geez, I don't want to get involved. Maybe they'll think I picked his pocket. I'm just, shanti shanti. I'll renounce the whole thing. I'm not doing anything. I'll just give it a wide berth and keep walking. Is the right thing to take the money and enjoy, or to avoid the money and just don't do anything? What's the right thing to do with the man who drops his wallet?
To avoid.
You think so? There's a third option.
Or
Anyone want to have an idea what the third option would be?
To
You give it back to the person. Hey, you dropped your wallet. That's the. So everything belongs to Krishna. So the honey belongs to Krishna. If we use Krishna's things in Krishna's service, then there's no karma. You're not happy with the answer? That's the best I got, my friend. Anyone else have a question? We're using Krishna's things in Krishna's service. And as soon as you don't use Krishna's things in Krishna's service. Prabhupada's on a walk in Bengal. Morning walk, you can hear the tape. And there's, a pious man walking with Prabhupada. There's a bunch of devotees. And the man is going on and on and on. 7 glass factories. He's got the largest glass factory in Bengal. He's got the largest in Orissa. He's got the largest. He's going on and on and on about his glass factory. Now Prabhupada was very humble. That was Prabhupada's default mode. But in the role of a teacher, you've got to help the student. So Prabhupada said, the man's going on and on about his glass. Prabhupada said, where did you get the sand? The man was pious. He said, from Bhagavan. Prabhupada, where did you get the silica? From Bhagavan. Well, where did you get the coal for your furnace? From Bhagavan. So Prabhupada said, then you are just a thief. You're stealing from Bhagavan. And the guy was completely silent. And then, then the morning walk goes on. Then he evidently recovered from the shock of that. He thought he was very pious. And now he's just been called a thief. So then he said, but Swamiji, I give donations sometimes. I give donations. Prabhupada said, all right, then you're a little thief. Prabhupada gave an inch, not more than an inch. So when we use Krishna's things in Krishna's service, then there's not the karmic law. And as soon as we step even an edge over that, then there's some karmic reaction. And when we use something in Krishna's service, the flower benefits, the bee benefits. Prabhupada's riding on a train, and Indian train. Indian trains are great. I love flying Indian. So you put down that little, there's a table. There's always a table. And Prabhupada put that down early in the morning. He's doing his translating work. And Prabhupada said, the living entity, we are using this table for writing Srimad Bhagavatam. And the living entity that was in the tree body that created this wood will make a quantum, I'm probably say quantum, but I'm paraphrasing, a great leap forward karmically. Because it created the body, and that body it created the tree, it created the wood that's now being used in Krishna's service, he'll get a benefit. So when we offer to Krishna, the bee benefits, everybody benefits. The rain, Indra, everyone benefits. And that's why it's called, it's the Mahayagya. Everything used in Krishna's service, everyone benefits. Okay, I think we should end now, Mataji. Yeah, because we got to get Mukunda home. So, thank you very much.
Question?
No, we should end. We can talk. He's not satisfied. We'll work it out in the car.
No, I meant Mukunda. He had raised his hand.
Well, you tell me what to do, Mataji.
I was going to add that if I remember correctly, in the commentary on that verse, it's mentioning how the bees, their tendency is to always collect more than they can ever use. So bees just keep collecting. It's not that bees, and even amongst vegans who have a horrible level, many of them disagree about honey, because with honey, bees will just keep making honey. They'll never reach a point, we got enough honey, we're just going to stop.
And they never take a break,
They'll never stop and eat the honey.
Gotcha.
They'll keep making honey, and eventually they can make enough, they go make a new hive, just keep making honey. And so, if I remember correctly in the commentary on the verse, is that bees are foolish in this sense, that humans are foolish, they're like bees, because they don't just work hard, they work hard and they have enough to live the rest of their lives, so they keep working hard, just even though they can never actually use it.
So they get an opportunity to serve the Lord.
So.
All right. Okay, so thank you very much. What do we do now?
Just make an announcement there.
You want to make an announcement?
Go ahead, Mataji, you want to just make
But
the
you want the
announcement
mic?
for the evening?